All right, so let's begin on your packet, and let's get some definitions down here first. First off, on your packet, it says Part 2, Islamic Caliphates. Write down for caliph. A caliph is a king, pretty much. Pretty much a king. Pretty much a king. A religious king. A religious king. And it goes all the way back to the Prophet Muhammad. A religious king who goes all the way back to the Prophet Muhammad. So a caliph is unique to Islam. So a caliphate, if caliph is king, a caliphate would be kingdom. It's like kingdom. So caliphate's like kingdom. Caliphate is basically like a kingdom. It is like a Muslim or Islamic kingdom. So when we say caliphate, we're thinking Muslim kingdoms. Okay? And a caliph is a little bit like the Pope, in that the Pope traces all the way back to Peter in the time of Jesus. The caliph traces all the way back to Prophet Muhammad. So Muhammad was basically like the first king. The caliphs follow him afterwards. All right? Two other words I'm going to have you write down there in that same spot. First one is Islam. The religion is Islam. The religion is Islam. Islam is the name of the religion. It means submit to the will of God. Or basically, do what God tells you. What God says, you do. Now, if I think about Christianity, could you say it's pretty much the same thing in Christianity?
Yes.
If God tells you something to do it. You do it. If you don't, it's a sin. Islam's kind of the same way. You follow what God's will is. And Muslims are the people. Don't put Islams. They're not Islams, they are Muslims. I've had many papers say Islams.
So what's Islam's?
Not a word. So, Muslims are the people. Islam is the religion. Just like religion, Christianity, the people are Christians. Just a little bit different. All right? So, let's get into it now. The title is, What is Islam? How did it begin in Arabia around 500 AD? So it begins just before the post-classical period, but is a hugely important religion in the post-classical period. Let's start off with Prophet Muhammad. So we'll start off with the second one, Prophet Muhammad, right there. The Prophet Muhammad. First off, Muhammad was a man. And just a man. Not like Jesus, not the Son of God. Muhammad is a man. He's a prophet, which means he gets a special message from God, like the prophets in the Old Testament did, Jeremiah, Elijah. He gets a special message from God, what Muslims believe. So he is seen as the messenger and the last prophet. They believe Muhammad is the last prophet ever, and that he's the greatest prophet. Now, when I'm telling you about this, am I teaching you to be Muslims?
No.
No. We have freedom of religion in this country. You can choose your own religion. If you want to keep following your religion, awesome. If you change it, that's your right. That's your choice. To be honest, it's not my business what religion you are. Okay? But my job is to teach you about this because religion has a huge impact on world history. And at some point, maybe already you have, you're going to work with a Muslim if you're not one. Does that make sense? You should know something about them and have a respect for their faith. Does this make sense? Just like Buddhism, Judaism, Hinduism. I don't teach you much about Christianity because we have a class for that here. You don't have to be the religion, but you do have to know how it works. Okay? So let's move ahead now. So the Prophet Muhammad. The Prophet Muhammad was a merchant. That means a trader. Basically a businessman for this time. And we know from the classical and post-classical period that trade was a big deal going on. So there was the Silk Road, going on. The Indian Ocean trade route was starting. So there were a lot of merchants at this time where he was living, in Arabia, which is near Africa. Middle East, we call it today, or Saudi Arabia is. He was a trader, a merchant. Now, he was also part of a nomadic group of people at this time. He was a nomadic person who was moving back and forth trading goods. Pretty good businessman, too. His people, his tribe or his culture, were polytheistic. What does polytheistic mean?
One God.
Not one,
Multiple.
more than one God. So his people believed in more than one God. Polytheistic, nomadic trader. That's our context for where Muhammad was living in, with the trade going on and everything. Okay? Now, this is incredibly important. This is what Muslims believe happened. So you can write down, Muslims believe that, if you want to. Muslims believe that Muhammad was a spiritual person, wanted a relationship with a divine being or God or gods, and he would go to a cave to meditate or pray. And he went to this cave many, many times to pray. What happened one day, they believe God sent the angel Gabriel to speak with Muhammad. But God sent the angel Gabriel. Interestingly, in the Bible, we believe that the angel Gabriel spoke to Mary. So there's some connections here between Islam and Christianity. There's lots of connections. I believe, personally, they're more similar than they are alike. They're not the same. They're different. But I think there's more similarities than there are differences. When Muhammad experienced the angel Gabriel coming, he said he felt like the angel was holding him. He felt like this divine, godly presence, and he could barely speak. He was scared pretty much to death when this was happening. So this is something much bigger than him. The angel Gabriel started speaking to him and basically telling him what would become the Quran. What would become the Quran, which is the holy book of Islam. So over a series of months, the angel Gabriel keeps speaking to him, keeps telling him the word of God. So think of the God, Gabriel is the messenger, giving the message to the Prophet Muhammad. Prophet Muhammad then has the message from God. Prophet Muhammad doesn't know what to do with this message. He's scared. He doesn't know what to do. And his wife, Hadisha, is actually the one who tells him, no, you need to talk about this. You need to tell people. You need to spread this message. So he does, and his followers write it down in Arabic, which was the language they spoke there. It's written down in Arabic, and it is called the Quran. It's spelled many different ways because it's originally spelled in Arabic. You can spell it any one of those ways. That's fine with me. So connections. Did Jesus write with his hands the Gospels? Did Confucius write the Analects? Did Buddha write the holy books of Buddhism? Connections. Often what happens is the spiritual leader does not write the message. It's the followers who do. And it continues with this connection when it comes to religious, philosophical, religions, philosophies that start. Yes, unnamed student, go ahead.
So, what was Judaism like when this was going on?
Oh, good question. This is 500 AD. Let's get some context here. Judaism exists. Would have Muhammad probably run into some people who were Jewish? Yes. Would he have probably bumped into a few people who were Christians? Yes. Here's something really important, though. Really important for Muslims. They believe Muhammad could not read or write.
He was literate.
Yes, but many people were at this time. A lot of people were illiterate. So they believe he couldn't have taken like the Jewish books and just
Right.
copied them because he didn't know how to read or write. They believe he couldn't take the Christian books because he didn't know how to read or write. Does that make sense?
It
So-
just happened to be the same because
So, they're very similar. There's some differences. And Muslims believe it is the pure word of God the way it was supposed to be. And Jewish people and Christians, they're people of God. They're good people. They believe mostly the right thing. But it kind of got corrupted and changed. That's what they believe. Does that make sense? And they believe basically the angel Gabriel came to set it straight the way it's supposed to be. Okay? That's a difference in the beliefs. All right? So, this is basically what happens, and this is how Islam gets its start.